My name is Keshwani. Says Keshwani. Keshwani. We are here because we want to prepare for SAT. We have been solving SAT grammar questions out of this book here, the official SAT study guide. If you do not own this book already, purchase one immediately. You're going to need it. The problems that we are about to solve are the ones that you will find on page number 470. Please turn to it, page 470, and today is our lesson number 7. There are 11 questions in this set, 11 questions of this particular type. As I explained yesterday, since there are 11 of them, first 3 or 4 are easy, which means the first page that we did yesterday, page number 469, 1 through 4 were easy. And today, in the first column that you see, the problem in the left-hand column are medium, are going to be medium, and the problems that we see on the right-hand column are hard. Let's get going. Number 5. As a choreographer, we are told Judith has enriched the world of dance. She has enriched the world of dance. Let me change the marker. This one is done. We are told that she has enriched the world of dance, and what else? She uses as her work's inspiration African American culture. This is the part we need to concentrate on. You see, if you read the problem, they start underlining the portion starting from here. They started underlining the portion from has enriched the world of dance. This is also underlined. But I did not underline it initially. Why is that? The reason is very simple. Because if you were to look at this part itself, forget about this bottom part here for the time being, and if you just read the top part here, the way it's written here, Judith has enriched the world of dance. If you were to ask to fix the sentence, pretend that the sentence ends there. Pretend the sentence ends right there. Judith has enriched the world of dance. If you were to ask to fix that sentence, how would you fix it? The answer would be, you wouldn't. It doesn't need any fixing. There is nothing wrong with this first part. Judith has enriched the world of dance, which is why I did not underline it. Even though they underline it, I did not. The problem doesn't exist there. The problem exists here, which means the correct answer, whatever it is, we learn two things first of all from it. One is that we don't need to waste our time looking at this part. Secondly, the correct answer, whatever it is, must start out like that because there is nothing wrong with it. So let's see what we can do. We have to work on this part. This is awkward. She uses as her work's inspiration African American culture. How can we make it a little bit better? How can we make it so that it is less verbose? How can we make it so that it is less verbose? Let's see what we can do. She uses as her work's inspiration African American culture. How about we say that her work is inspired by African American culture. There you go. Her work is inspired by African American culture. It looks like we're starting a new sentence. We could actually technically end this thing and start a new sentence here. Her work is inspired by African American culture, which we know technically is not correct because we are not allowed to take one sentence and break it into two parts. We know that, but that's okay. We could actually put a comma here and continue. We could put a comma here and continue here. So now the sentence reads like this. Now the sentence reads, she has enriched the world of dance, which we knew from the very beginning there was nothing wrong with it. Her work is inspired by African American culture. That's it, we are done. We are ready to lift our hand. Oh, I forgot to tell you again one more time. I do this every time. You must cover your answer choices while you're solving these problems. Never ever look at the answer choices until you know what it is that you're looking for. Now we know what we're looking for. So we're going to lift our hand and we will begin to look for something that comes closest to it. Okay, keep in mind, the first part we had not changed, which means what we are looking for, what we are claiming is that the correct answer, whatever it is, has to start out in this manner. She has enriched the world of dance. Let's see what we can do. There is no point in reading A because A just repeats whatever it says in the sentence. Let's look at B. B says she has enriched the world of dance. There you go. She has enriched the world of dance with works inspired by African American culture. With works. So we said her work is inspired by, and they say with works inspired by African American culture. That's pretty close actually. That's pretty close. I'm going to keep B for the time being until we find something better than B. If we do not find something better than B, then the answer will be B. Because our job, they do not say pick the right answer. They never say pick the one answer among the 5 that is correct. They never say that. They say pick the best answer. So we're going to keep looking. Maybe we'll find something better. C goes on to say that who has enriched. No, there is no who here. This part cannot change. She has enriched the world of dance. This part cannot change. She starts out with who. D says enriching the world of dance. There is no enriching here. It's enriched. She has enriched the world of dance. D is not it. E says she enriches. No. It's the past tense. She enriched. Answer is B. The answer is B. Let's move on to the next one. Number 6. Number 6. Leslie has said that her writing which was powerfully influenced by storytellers in her family. Let's see what we can do. So this entire part actually is underlined. This entire part is underlined. Leslie has said that her writing, which was powerfully influenced by a storyteller in her family. Now, notice what happened here. I did not even bother reading the rest of it. There is no point in reading the rest of it. You shouldn't waste your time reading the rest of the sentence. It doesn't matter. The problem lies here. We have to fix it, and that's all there is. How actually they go on to finish it, it's a moot point. It's a moot point. You should be learning these words. These words come out of nowhere in the lectures. You should be learning these words. We have learned these words in our vocabulary lessons, which is why I just simply put them down, and I'm going to leave it up to, and I leave it up to you. If you're curious, if you're interested in improving your vocabulary, to actually watch the video and learn these words. Moot point is something that we learn on day number 7. Just type in SAT vocabulary words, day 7, and you will learn what it means to be a moot point. We see the word verbose we just used. We said it was too verbose, which means to be too wordy, using too many words. And we learned the word verbose, and while you're learning the word verbose, make sure you also learn the noun of it. Day number 16. Again, just type in SAT vocabulary words, day 16, and you learn these words. And then you see timorous, we see diffident. Anyway, let's continue here. So there is no point in reading the rest of it. There is no point in reading the rest of the sentence. It doesn't really matter how they go on to finish the sentence. That is a moot point. It's irrelevant. It's immaterial, because our job is to fix the grammar of the thing, and the grammar of the thing has to do with this first part, because that's what's underlined here. So let's just fix it. Let's just pretend it ends here. Let's just pretend it ends there and just fix it. What's wrong with it? What is wrong with it is that this thing is written, this sentence is written in passive tone. It's written in passive voice, and they do not like that. Good writers will tell you to avoid passive voice as much as you can. One is to use the passive voice only when it is absolutely essential, only when it is called for. Do you understand? Here they finish the thing in a passive voice. It's no good. Let's put it in a more direct voice. Let's put it in more directly. Her writing, which was powerfully influenced by storytellers in her family. Her writing. How about the storytellers in her family? How about this? I'm gonna fix it. Instead of rewriting it, I'm gonna fix it by erasing things around, and you'll see what happens. How about the storytellers in her family influence her writing? How about that? There you go. So this all goes away. Her writing, which was, all of this goes away, and now it reads storytellers in her family influence her writing. Or if you so insist, or if you so insist, storytellers in our family powerfully influence our writing. It really doesn't matter. That's it, we are done. Lift your hand now. I hope your answers were covered as we were working on it. Never look at the answer choices until you know what to look for. Now lift your hand, go through the 5 answer choices, and all you have to do is pick the one answer choice that comes closest to what you just said. That's all it is. You don't have to analyze every single answers to death anymore. Just look for the one that comes closest. That's it. Let's look at B. B says her writing powerfully influenced by. No, there is no by in here. This is what our sentence reads. It says storytellers in our family influenced her writing. B is not the answer. C says family storytellers. Oh, there you go. Family storytellers in their family, same thing. Family storytellers. That theirs is even better because it's used even fewer words. Family storytellers influence her writing. There you go. That's your answer. C. C is the answer. It fits perfectly. The storytellers in the family being powerful. That's not it. Being powerful. We never said about being powerful. And D says powerfully influential. No, that's nonsense. You don't even have to finish reading the whole thing. As soon as it starts out in a ridiculous way, you know it's not. Besides, we found something that comes very close to what we're looking for. The answer is C. Let's move on to the next one. Number 7. Number 7. Finding the Baltimore waterfront fascinating. Finding the Baltimore waterfront fascinating. Now, as you can tell from here, there is nothing wrong with this part. The way it starts out, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. Do you understand? Oh, I never finished the previous one properly. Let me go back to it for a second. So the problem with the previous one, number 6 that we just finished, was the fact that it was written in a passive tone, as I was telling you before, and it was written in a passive voice. Whenever that is the case, fix it. It's not good. It's not good to go around saying he was driven mad by the loud noise of the neighbors. It's much better to say the loud noise of the neighbor drove him mad, instead of saying he was driven mad. Do you understand? It's much better to say, instead of saying he was fascinated by the story told by her sister, he was fascinated by the story told by her sister. It's much better to say her sister's story fascinated him. So he put it in active voice. Do you understand? That's what we did there. The storytellers in her family inspired her. That's all there is. Instead of saying she was inspired by the storytellers in her family. Anyway, that was number 6. Let's move on to number 7. Finding the Baltimore waterfront fascinating. So there is nothing wrong with it. We're not going to mess with it. Correct answer, whatever it is, has to have that in it. There is nothing wrong with that phrase. Let's read the rest of it. All that there was to see. Oh my God. All that there was to see was thoroughly explored by Antonio. Now that's our problem. All that there was to see was thoroughly explored by Antonio is a bloody awkward way of saying Antonio explored everything thoroughly. There you go. That's it. I am 100% sure that what we just put down in the blackboard is not one of the answer choices. I'm going to say it one more time. I am 100% sure, or 99.999% sure, that what we put down in the blackboard just now is not in the correct answer. But the purpose of writing this thing is not because we are hoping that what we wrote down is going to be exactly matched by what we find in the right answer. That is not the point. The point is that this is enough. What we just wrote down is enough for us to recognize what the correct answer is. Because we're going to find something that comes closest to it, and that's it. Everything else is irrelevant. Do you understand? Antonio, one more time, Antonio explored everything thoroughly. Instead of saying all that there was to see was explored by Anthony. Anthony explored everything thoroughly. That's it. Let's look at the answer choices. And again, keep in mind that we have not changed this part. So correct answer has to start out with this. Finding the Baltimore waterfront fascinating. Antonio explored everything thoroughly. Let's see what we can do there. B says Antonio found. No, that's not. We just said it has to start out this way. B is not the answer. C says finding the Baltimore waterfront fascinating. Actually, now that I realize it, that's the only answer choice beginning like that, so that's the answer. Antonio thoroughly explored all that there was to see. Antonio thoroughly, I put down the adverb here, they put it down here. Antonio thoroughly explored everything. Antonio thoroughly explored everything. Or Antonio explored everything thoroughly. Antonio thoroughly explored. I said everything, what they're saying is all that there was to see. There you go, that's your answer. There's no point in reading D and E because they do not start out with finding the Baltimore waterfront fascinating. D says the Baltimore waterfront is fascinating and Antonio was normal. And is why, no, it's just silly. E says Baltimore waterfront can be found fascinating. Oh, this is ridiculous. The answer is C. Let's move on. Number 8. And that's the whole point. That's the whole point of doing the work ourselves before we look at the answer choices, so that we don't have to analyze every answer choice to death. Just find the one that comes closest to it and that's it. Do you understand? You'll be fine. Once in a while you're going to get burned, but that's okay. This method is still far better and far more efficient than sitting there and reading every single sentence, every single answer choice that they give you carefully to see which one you want to pick, because they are written in such a manner that they are very close to each other. Of course it's going to drive you mad. Of course. Don't look at that. Don't do that. Number 8. In the 100-yard relay, our team impressed the crowd with each of the members shaving several seconds of her own best time. With each of the members shaving, what part is underlined? From where? From off. There you go, from off. With each of the member shaving several seconds of their best time. How does one fix this sentence? To which the answer is, one does not. It's a beautifully written sentence. This part does not need any fixing. This part does not need any fixing. There is nothing wrong with it. With each of the members shaving as in chopping off, as in cutting, as in eliminating several seconds from the best record that existed before. That's all. If the best record before was 18 seconds, now the new record that they said was probably 14 seconds. They shaved off 4 seconds from the best record. The answer is A. Let's move on to number 9. Because of their ability to eat large number of insects, alright. Because of their ability to eat large number of insects, some people are building bad houses in their backyard. Well, first of all, I do not like the way it starts out with the word because. Try to avoid it as much as you can. It's not a good idea to start out your sentence with because and since. This part that we see here should actually follow this part. This has to go in the front. This has to go on the top. So the sentence should start out with some people are building bad houses in their backyard. Some people are so it should start out with some people are building the bad houses in their backyard, and then now the question is why? Because bat eat large number of insects. Don't say because of their ability. Because so cut this out too. Because why? Because bats eat large number of insects. So I'm going to rewrite it because it's getting too crowded here. I'm going to rewrite this whole thing. So why are they building? So it starts out like this. Some people are building bat houses in their backyard. The question is why? Because bats eat large number of insects. That's it, because bats eat large number of insects. So to get rid of the insects, they're building the bat houses. An ingenious plan, if you ask me. I always wanted a bunch of bats flying around my backyard so that I can get rid of the insects. Anyway, that's the answer. That's not the answer. We're going to look for something that comes closest to it. So what we're looking for, what we're claiming is that it has to start out like this. Some people are building. Let's see what we can do. There is no point in reading B because B does not start out with some people. B is not the answer. A, of course, is not the answer because we're changing it. C does not start out with some people are building, because C starts out with because. So the answer is, and E is not the answer. E does not start out with some people. The answer is D. Answer is D. That's it. The answer is D. Let's see what D says. Because E does not start out with some people are building. E says bats can eat large number of insects because of their no. The answer is D. That's it. And that was number 9. Let's move on to number 10. That was fascinating. I always wanted, as I said, a whole bunch of bats flying around my backyards so that I don't have any insects. Number 10. For all their talk, well, that's the only part that's underlined. For all their talk, and then they go on to tell something. What do you find wrong with this thing? See, here's what happens. Okay, pay attention. Pay attention very carefully. Pay attention very closely, rather, not carefully. Pay attention very closely. There are 5 concepts. Well, not just 5, but these are 5 most popular concepts that they will test you on the grammar questions. Of course, there are a whole bunch of others, but I'm talking about the 5 most popular, and they are listed on the blackboard. Make sure that you look for subject-verb agreement. The subject of the sentence has to agree with the verb. If the subject is singular, the verb has to be singular form, and so on and so forth. The next thing that they test is the tenses. If the sentence starts out, if the sentence starts out in the passive, if the sentence starts out in the past tense, it must remain in the past tense. The next thing they look for is adverbs. They're very particular about adverbs. Make sure that you have the proper adverb in there. Don't go around saying that he was working careful. He was working carefully. Singular, plural, and finally the last concept that they test here is, or maybe we should put down active and passive voice, and then finally the last concept that they test in this thing, well, I shouldn't say last, the very last one, the very last one, the popular concept that appear are the idioms. And idioms, when they do appear, when they do appear, they typically appear in the hard questions. Why is that? Why do they give you the questions that test your knowledge of idioms in the hard questions? Because idioms are difficult. Idioms are hard for a non-speaker to master. Idioms are difficult. They are hard for non-native to master because they have no rhythm or rhyme to them. It's just a matter of knowing them. You either know the idiom or you don't. That's it. There is nothing in between. There are no rules of grammar that I can follow to know whether a given idiom is the correct one or not. This is an idiom. For all I know, oh, there you go, I just did it. For all I know, he could be dead. Why didn't Michael show up for work today? How the hell do I know? For all I know, he could be dead. For all I know, that's an idiom. For all the talk that he was doing, I don't know if he's going to actually deliver the goods. Who knows? For all I know, it could be just talk. Do you understand? This is an idiom. For all the talk, and then however they go on to finish the sentence is irrelevant this point, because this is an idiom and it is right. There is nothing wrong with this idiom. This is it. Do you understand? We use this idiom all the time. For all I know, it could cost $10. How do I know? Well, how much does it cost? How the hell do I know? For all I know, it could be $10 or it could be 10 cents. How do I know? I don't know. Don't ask me. I have no clue. So for all their talk about ecology, the major companies have so far spent very little to fight the pollution. For all their talk, it was just a talk. For all their talk, they have spent really very little on it. There is nothing wrong with it. The answer is A. Let's go on to the last one, number 11. So here, it was an idiom that they were testing and there is nothing wrong with it. Number 11, last one. Of course, the last one on a scale of 1 through 11. on a scale of 1 through 11 is number 11. It's the most difficult one. Let's see what we can do. The survival of many species of marine life may depend on both the enforcement of waste disposal regulation and the education of the public. Oh, there you go. Survival of many species of marine life may depend on both the enforcement of law. It depends on enforcement of law and the education of public. That's it. It depends on both the enforcement of the law and the education of the public. The reason I put it on the blackboard is because you will see in a second that there is nothing wrong with it. The reason I put it on the blackboard is to show you that something would have been wrong with it. Okay, let me start again from the beginning. The reason I put all of this on the blackboard is to show you that something would have been wrong with it if they had given us something like this. It depends on both the enforcement of law and educating the public. Now then this would have been wrong. This part would have been wrong because enforcement of the law is a noun. It does not say enforcing the law. Had it said enforcing the law, then this part would have been okay. It has to do with parallel structure. It has to do with parallel structure. If this says enforcement, if this is a noun, then this also has to be noun. If this says the whatever it says, I forgot now what it was. Survival of the species, survival of many species depends on both the enforcement of the law and education of the public. Education of the public, and it is fine. Education of the public. That's again your noun. So it has to read one more time. It has to read either the species of the survival of many species depends on both enforcing the law and educating the public, or enforcement of the law and education of the public. This is fine. The answer is A. There is nothing wrong with it. I will see you tomorrow, where we'll begin the next part in the following page, where the scale will start all over again. There are 18 questions of the next type. As you turn the page, you will see there are new types of questions, and there are 18 of them, which means the scale of difficulty will start all over again on a scale of difficulty of 1 through 18. On a scale of difficulty of 1 through 18, number 12 that you see on the next page is the very first one. On a scale of 1 through 18 is number 1. 12 is number 1. Is the easiest one out of the 18. We'll start that part tomorrow. Okay? I'll see you tomorrow. Bye now.